Chosen one, listen very carefully. What you are about to hear is not random, and this moment is not accidental. If this video has found you today, understand this clearly. Truth has been trying to reach you for a long time, and now it can no longer stay hidden. For months, maybe even years, you felt something was wrong. You sensed betrayal, confusion, and strange tension around you, but you kept giving the benefit of the doubt. You tried to keep peace. You tried to stay quiet. You tried to protect the bond, believing blood would never turn against blood. But today, the veil is lifting. The entire town is shocked because the truth has come out, and the last person anyone expected is the one behind it all. Yes, it was your own sibling all along. This revelation is not meant to break you, it is meant to free you. God did not allow this truth to surface until you were strong enough to handle it. You were being tested, not punished. Every moment of silence, every time you felt misunderstood, every time you chose restraint over reaction, it was preparing you for this clarity. What is being exposed now explains why things felt blocked, why your energy felt drained, and why certain doors refused to open before. It wasn't your failure, it was hidden interference, and now it can no longer operate in the dark. This is the moment where confusion turns into confirmation. You were not crazy, you weren't imagining it. God allowed the truth to reveal itself publicly so you wouldn't have to defend yourself privately. Justice doesn't always arrive loudly, but when it does, it leaves everyone stunned. Stay calm. Before you get lost in this message, you must first do 3 things to align yourself with this truth. First, like this video to acknowledge the clarity you are receiving. Then leave a comment saying, "Thank you God for revealing the truth." And finally, subscribe to the channel to send your signal to the universe that you are ready to move forward lighter, wiser, and protected. The confusion you felt was your intuition warning you. For a long time, you carried a strange feeling inside you that you couldn't fully explain. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was always there in the background. Some days it showed up as restlessness, other days as sudden sadness or mental tiredness for no clear reason. You kept asking yourself why you felt this way when, on the surface, everything looked normal. You told yourself you were just stressed, emotional, or thinking too much. You tried to push the feeling away because facing it felt uncomfortable, and deep down, you didn't want it to be true. You trusted the people closest to you, especially family, because that is what you were taught to do. Family is supposed to feel safe, familiar, and protective. So when something didn't feel right, your mind searched for excuses instead of answers. You gave people the benefit of the doubt. You ignored small signs, awkward moments, and energy shifts. You convinced yourself that love meant staying quiet and patient, even when your heart felt uneasy. You chose peace over questioning, believing that silence would keep things stable. But that uneasy feeling was never trying to scare you. It wasn't either to create fear or drama. It was your intuition doing its job. Intuition doesn't speak in full sentences. It doesn't come with proof or explanations. It shows up as a sense of discomfort, a pause in your spirit, or a feeling that something doesn't add up. While words sounded fine and actions looked normal, your intuition was noticing what your eyes couldn't see: changes in energy, intention, and honesty. At times, you felt guilty for even sensing something wrong. You told yourself that questioning family was disrespectful or ungrateful. You worried that trusting your feelings would make you seem negative or judgmental. So instead of listening, you silenced that inner voice. You kept moving forward while carrying emotional weight you couldn't name. That is why things felt heavier than they should have. It wasn't because you were weak. It was because you were carrying truth before you were ready to understand it. Now, looking back, you can see that your intuition was patient with you. It didn't force you to act. It waited until the moment you were strong enough to face reality without falling apart. It allowed you to grow, mature, and emotionally stabilize before the truth came into the open. That is why, when clarity arrived, you didn't collapse, you finally understood. This experience teaches you something important. Intuition doesn't rush. It whispers because it respects your timing. It protects your peace until you are ready to handle what you know. And now that the truth has surfaced, you can trust yourself again. You weren't imagining things. You weren't overthinking. You were sensing reality before it had a name. Betrayal from close blood hurts deeper than any enemy. When betrayal comes from someone outside your life, it hurts, but it is easier to understand. You expect strangers to disappoint you sometimes. You know they don't owe you loyalty. But when the same pain comes from your own sibling, it hits a completely different place in your heart. That kind of betrayal doesn't just shock you, it breaks something deep inside. It changes how you look at relationships, trust, and even yourself. A sibling is someone you grew up with, shared memories with, laughed with, and defended at some point in your life. You believed that no matter what happened in the world, this bond would stay solid. So when that trust is broken, it feels like the ground under your feet disappears. You don't just feel hurt, you feel confused. You start questioning how someone who knows you so well could cause you pain without hesitation. The hardest part is not only what they did, but what you lost because of it. You lost the image you held in your mind, the belief that family will always protect you. You lost the comfort of thinking you were safe around them. And losing that belief can feel heavier than the action itself. That asks why this pain lingers. It asks not about anger, it asks about grief. You're grieving the bond you thought you had. Many people try to minimize this kind of pain. They tell themselves to be strong, to move on, or to forgive quickly. But healing doesn't start with pretending nothing happened. God doesn't expect you to ignore your feelings or act like it didn't matter. Your pain is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged. Ignoring it only pushes the wound deeper, where it quietly affects your peace and confidence. You may also feel guilt for feeling hurt. Part of you might think, they family, I shouldn't feel this way. But pain doesn't follow rules. Betrayal doesn't become lighter just because it came from blood. Allowing yourself to feel the hurt doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest. Honesty is where healing begins. You realize that this experience didn't destroy you. It changed you. It taught you that trust must be earned through actions, not titles. It showed you that protecting your heart is not selfish, and it reminded you that God sees wounds people never apologize for. As you accept that this betrayal mattered, you slowly take your power back. The pain no longer controls you, it teaches you. You were silent not because you were weak, but because you were wise for a long time. People may have misunderstood your silence. Some thought you were afraid. Others assumed you didn't notice what was happening. A few may have believed you were too weak to speak up. But the truth is very different. You stayed quiet not because you lacked courage, but because something inside you knew that reacting too soon would only make things worse. Your silence wasn't confusion, it was control. You had many chances to respond. You could have confronted them in anger. You could have exposed the situation publicly or tried to defend yourself loudly. You could have reacted emotionally and let your pain speak for you. But deep down, you sensed that doing so would pull you into unnecessary drama. You knew that if you spoke at the wrong time, your words would be twisted, misunderstood, or used against you. So you waited. That waiting wasn't easy. Staying silent while feeling wronged takes strength. It means holding your emotions together while others test your limits. It means choosing patience when every part of you wants to explain yourself. You didn't stay quiet because you didn't care. You stayed quiet because you cared about peace, about truth, and about not lowering yourself to chaos. Your silence also protected you. While others were busy creating noise, spreading confusion, or manipulating the situation, you were observing. You were learning. You were gaining clarity without getting emotionally tangled. Silence gave you space to think clearly instead of reacting impulsively. It kept you from making decisions you might have regretted later. At times, it felt unfair. You may have wondered why you were the one carrying the weight while others seemed free to act however they wanted. But now you see that your restraint preserved your integrity. When the truth finally came out, you didn't look defensive or desperate. You looked calm, grounded, and steady. That calm speaks louder than any argument ever could. Now, the truth doesn't need your voice to be heard, it stands on its own. People are starting to see things clearly, without you having to explain or justify yourself. Your silence allowed reality to reveal itself naturally, and because you waited, the truth carries more weight than if you had forced it earlier. This is the power of wisdom, knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. You weren't late, you were right on time. Exposure happened when you were finally ready, not before. There was a time when you wished the truth would come out quickly. You prayed for clarity, for answers, and for everything hidden to be exposed. Back then, you felt tired of carrying confusion and wanted things to make sense immediately. But what you didn't realize at that moment was that you were still healing, still learning, and still building emotional strength. If the truth had been revealed too early, it might have overwhelmed you instead of helping you. God understands timing better than anyone. He didn't delay the truth to punish you or ignore your pain. He delayed it to protect you. You needed space to grow calmer and more grounded before facing what was really happening. During that time, you learned how to control your emotions, how to stand on your own, and how to find peace without needing explanations from others. Those lessons quietly prepared you for what was coming. As time passed, you changed in ways you may not have noticed. You became less reactive and more observant. You stopped chasing validation and started trusting yourself. You learned how to breathe through discomfort instead of breaking under it. All of this happened before the truth ever came to light, and it wasn't accidental. It was preparation. When exposure finally happened, something surprising occurred. You didn't fall apart. Instead of shock, you felt clarity. Instead of panic, you felt understanding. That's how you know you were ready. The same truth that would have shattered you before now feels like confirmation. It still hurts, but it doesn't control you. It explains things instead of confusing you. This is how divine timing works. Truth doesn't arrive when we demand it. It arrives when we can handle it. God waited until you were strong enough to see clearly without losing yourself emotionally. The delay wasn't denial, it was protection. Now, the truth no longer has the power to destroy you. It strengthens you. It gives you closure instead of chaos. And because it came at the right time, it sets you free instead of holding you down. That's why you can stand steady today, knowing that everything was revealed exactly when it needed to be. The shock others feel is proof you weren't imagining things. For a long time, you lived with doubts that had no proof. You felt something was wrong, but you couldn't point to anything solid. Because of that, you questioned yourself more than anyone else did. You wondered if you were being too sensitive, too suspicious, or too emotional. When no one else seemed to notice what you were feeling, it made you feel alone in your thoughts. You kept quiet, not because you were unsure, but because you didn't want to sound unreasonable. Now, everything has changed. The shock you see in others' faces is not random, it's revealing. When the truth came out, people didn't respond calmly or casually. They were stunned. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. That reaction itself is proof that this wasn't something you imagined. If it were small or insignificant, there wouldn't be disbelief. The shock exists because something real and serious was uncovered. What's powerful here is that you didn't have to explain anything. You didn't need to defend your feelings or walk people through your experience. The truth showed itself on its own. People are reacting not because of what you said, but because of what was revealed. The mask fell naturally, and once it did, everyone saw what you had quietly sensed for a long time. This kind of validation is different from being believed after an argument. It's calmer, stronger, and more permanent. No debates, no accusations. Just reality standing in front of everyone. You don't need to convince anyone anymore because the situation speaks for itself. That's a huge emotional release. The weight of carrying doubt alone finally lifts. You may notice that some people are now rethinking past moments, conversations, and behaviors. Things that once didn't make sense suddenly do, and while they processing the truth now, you already walked through that confusion earlier. You not behind, you ahead in understanding. This moment brings peace because it confirms one thing clearly: you trusted your inner sense for a reason. You weren't wrong, you weren't imagining things. You were aware before awareness became public. And now, instead of defending yourself, you get to stand quietly while reality speaks for you. This betrayal explains the blocks you couldn't break before. For a long time, your life felt like it was moving with the brakes on. You tried to do the right things, made honest efforts, and stayed patient, yet nothing seemed to flow smoothly. Plans would begin but never fully take shape. Opportunities appeared and then suddenly disappeared. Even your motivation felt low at times, as if something was quietly draining your energy. You couldn't explain it, and that made it even more frustrating. You probably blamed yourself at first. You wondered if you were not working hard enough, if you were making the wrong choices, or if you were just unlucky. You tried to push harder, stay positive, and keep going, but the results didn't match your effort. That kind of situation slowly wears you down, because when you don't know the cause, you start questioning your own ability. Now, things are finally starting to make sense. Betrayal that operates in secrecy doesn't just hurt emotionally, it affects everything around you. When someone close to you is working against you, even quietly, it creates resistance you can see. It disrupts your focus, your confidence, and your sense of direction. That hidden interference is what made progress feel heavy and slow. Once the truth came out, something shifted. It wasn't just emotional relief, you felt lighter. That's because those invisible blocks began to dissolve. The confusion that kept you second-guessing yourself started to fade. You can think more clearly now, make decisions with confidence, and trust your instincts again. The energy that was leaking away is returning to you. This doesn't mean you're starting from zero. In fact, you're moving forward with more awareness than ever before. Everything you learned during that stuck phase built strength, patience, and clarity. Now, without interference, those lessons begin to pay off. You may notice small changes first, things moving faster, conversations going smoother, ideas gaining traction. That's momentum returning. Where resistance once lived, flow is taking its place. This chapter isn't about recovering losses, it asks about progress finally matching your effort. You don't need revenge because truth already handled it. When someone hurts you deeply, the first natural feeling is wanting justice. Your mind imagines fairness as payback, confrontation, or seeing the other person suffer the way you did. That reaction is human, but over time, you start to realize that chasing revenge only keeps you tied to the pain. It keeps your energy focused on the person who already took enough from you. That asks why this moment is important. You don't need revenge anymore, because the truth has already done the work for you. Justice doesn't always come in the form of loud punishment or dramatic consequences. Many times, it arrives quietly, it shows up as exposure. What was hidden comes into the open, what was denied becomes visible. And when that happens, the person who caused harm loses something far more valuable than reputation. They lose control. They can no longer shape the story or hide behind excuses. The truth stands on its own, and that changes everything. You may notice that you don't feel the same urge to explain yourself anymore. That asks because you don't have to. The truth has shifted the balance. People can see things clearly now without you pointing fingers or defending your position. This kind of justice is powerful because it doesn't require you to lower yourself. You didn't have to lie, manipulate, or hurt anyone to be seen. Your integrity stayed intact. While they deal with the weight of what has been revealed, you are free to move forward. What they tried to hide is now attached to their name, not yours. And that as a consequence they have to live with daily. You don't need to add anything to it. Life has already separated the roles, truth on one side, exposure on the other. Revenge demands energy, truth releases it. That asks the difference. Instead of carrying anger, you regaining peace. Instead of replaying the past, you stepping into clarity. This doesn't mean the pain didn't matter, it means it no longer controls your future. Your strength now is in staying grounded. You don't need to prove your worth or justify your choices. People who matter will understand. People who don't were never meant to walk with you anyway. Justice has already arrived in a form that protects you instead of draining you. Let the truth stand, let integrity speak, and let yourself move forward knowing you didn't lose, you were released. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. For a long time, you may have believed that love meant keeping everyone close, no matter how they treated you. You told yourself that patience, forgiveness, and understanding were the right way to handle every situation. You stayed available even when it drained you. You kept doors open even when they brought you pain. But now, you're learning something important. Moving forward doesn't require anger or bitterness. It requires clarity. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you hate anyone. It doesn't mean you're holding a grudge or wishing harm. It simply means you're being honest with yourself about what you can and cannot allow in your life. You've seen what happens when you give unlimited access to people who don't respect your heart. Boundaries are the result of understanding, not resentment. Many people feel guilty when they start creating distance, especially from family. They worry about being judged or misunderstood, but boundaries are not about controlling others, they're about protecting your peace. You're not punishing anyone by stepping back, you're choosing stability over chaos, calm over confusion. God teaches that love does not require you to endure harm. Love can exist without constant closeness. Respecting yourself is not a lack of compassion, it is a sign of growth. When you place healthy limits, you're honoring the lessons you learned through pain. You're saying, I deserve peace, and I will protect it. As you move forward, you'll notice how lighter life feels when your space is no longer disturbed by negativity. Your energy stays balanced. Your thoughts become clearer, your emotions feel safer. This isn't isolation, it is alignment. You're surrounding yourself with people and environments that support your well-being. Boundaries also help you heal. They give you room to breathe, reflect, and rebuild trust in yourself. They teach others how to treat you without you needing to explain or argue. And most importantly, they allow you to move ahead without carrying old wounds into new chapters. Peace doesn't come from fixing everyone else. It comes from choosing what stays and what goes. And now, you're choosing wisely. This revelation is the beginning of a lighter chapter. This moment may feel heavy at first, but it is actually the start of something lighter. What is ending now is not your happiness or your hope, it is the emotional weight you've been carrying for a long time without knowing why. You lived with confusion, unanswered questions, and constant tension in your mind. That invisible burden followed you everywhere, even on good days. Now, that weight is finally lifting. For so long, you tried to understand what was wrong. You replayed conversations, questioned your feelings, and wondered if you were the problem. That kind of confusion drains your energy quietly. It doesn't always show on the outside, but it affects how you think, how you trust, and how you move forward. With the truth now revealed, those unanswered questions finally have an explanation. And that clarity brings relief. You may notice that your mind feels calmer than before. Situations that once made you anxious don't hold the same power anymore. That's because doubt is being replaced with understanding. You no longer have to guess or assume. You see things as they are, not as you hoped they would be. That honesty, even when it hurts, creates peace. This new chapter isn't about starting over from nothing. It's about continuing your journey without unnecessary weight. You're stepping into a phase where your energy belongs to you again. Decisions feel clearer, boundaries feel natural, your heart feels safer. That's what freedom looks like, not excitement every day, but calm and steadiness. What you went through was never meant to break you. It shaped your awareness, strengthened your emotional balance, and prepared you for healthier connections ahead. The pain served a purpose, and now that purpose is complete, you don't have to carry it forward. As you move ahead, you'll realize that life feels simpler. Not easier in every way, but lighter, and that's how you know this revelation was a release, not a loss.